To make your Grandparents' Day hand art project, you'll need a piece of paper, a pencil, a black crayon, a set of watercolors, a water cup, and a paintbrush. We're going to start by tracing the hands. So each person working on the artwork can trace their hand onto the paper. Some of you may have 2 hands involved in your artwork, like 2 different people. Some of you may have 3 hands. You can start by deciding where you want to trace your hand. Depending on how many hands that are involved in the artwork, it might make more sense to put 1 on each side, 1 in the middle, and 1 on each side of the hand in the middle. So when you trace your hand, you're going to do this lightly in pencil and just carefully go around each finger. It's important to kind of spread your fingers out and not keep them really close together, because then it's hard to trace in between. Once you've traced one hand, then you can trace the other hand or hands that you're going to add to your artwork. So I'm going to put 1 here, and then I'll put another hand here. The idea with this is that the hands will overlap, and when the lines overlap, they will create shapes. And when we're painting, we can paint inside those shapes that the overlapping creates. So you can see that there are some shapes made now where the hands overlap. Now I'm going to trace my other hand here, but remember, you can have as many hands that work for you and your grandparents or special persons that are with you today. The next step is outlining all of the pencil lines with the black crayon. We're going to paint this after, and when we use crayon and watercolor, we end up seeing something called a wax resist. Crayons are made of wax, and the water from the watercolors doesn't mix with the wax. So you'll be able to see the lines of your crayon through the watercolor. The next step is painting with watercolors. So you'll have your water cup and paintbrush to use, and remember that you need to add a little bit of water to wake up the watercolor so that it works. And then we can just paint it on our paper. So when you're painting, look for the shapes within the hands that are overlapping. So here I'm painting with purple, and I'm going around this finger shape here because I'm going to paint that area another color, because the line breaks up the space there. We can look for the different shapes that the overlapping has created and then paint them in individually. In your painting, you want to try to alternate your colors so that you don't have a section that's the same color touching. So for example, I'm painting this purple. I wouldn't want to use purple right here or here. Those should be a different color. One thing that I like to do when I'm painting is blend my colors a little bit. So I'm going to drop a little bit of blue into the purple that I painted. This is using the wet on wet watercolor technique because I painted the section purple first, so the paper is already wet with water. And now I'm adding some blue in and adding a little bit more water to this, which helps the colors blend together. This looks best with analogous colors, or colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel, like blue and purple, blue and green, orange and yellow. You can think about the rainbow and what colors are near each other on the rainbow, and those colors will blend the best together. Now that I'm done with that section, I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to pick a different color for my next section. I'm going to use some orange down here. That will really contrast the purple and blue that I painted above it. Contrast means that you're making each part of your artwork stand out. So if I painted this area down here another shade of blue or purple, it wouldn't really stand out because I have a similar color right above it. I'm going to keep painting and fill in all of the shapes individually that the overlapping hands made. You can choose to paint your background or leave it white. I'm going to choose to paint mine, and for mine, I'm going to paint it green because I don't have a lot of green up near the top, and I don't want my sections again to blend into each other. So I'm trying to use contrast to make them all stand out. When I'm painting with green, I'm going to make the bottom part of my paper start with more of a blue green, So I'm painting with green, and then I'm going to blend in a little bit of blue on my paper by just dropping a little bit of the blue into the puddle of green that's on my paper. And we'll start to see that blend together. Remember, this is using the wet on wet watercolor technique. Then I can just continue to add regular green, and at the top of my paper, I'm going to make it more of a yellow green. So it's fading from blue green to yellow green. But remember that you can use any color that you like for your background, or if you think it looks better white because of the contrast, then go for it and leave it white. All right, so it looks like I'm all done. I hope you have fun creating a collaborative artwork using the shape of your hands. I can't wait to see how yours turns out.